Welcome. What's going on? How's everybody doing? My name is Joe McHugh.
And I'm Kimber.
And that's Kimber. Oh, yeah. Hi, Kimber.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing great. I always want to start this and say Happy Friday, and then I forget we changed to Wednesday. So
Yeah. Happy
We
Wednesday.
can just act like it's Friday.
I mean, Wednesday's the new Friday, right? We do anything on Thursday anyway, so no, it's all good. So, hi, Jason.
Hi, Joe. Hi, Kimber.
How are you?
Good.
Why don't you tell everybody who you are and where you're from and why we should listen to you? Because Kimber was trying to explain that to me, and I was like, I don't know. I don't get it.
She texted me and she was like, "Oh my God, I need you on here. You're so great." I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say. So I'm Jason Flynn. I'm a team leader. I'm based in the San Francisco Bay Area. So right in the middle of all that tech stuff you see on the news. You should listen to me because I like talking about marketing.
Oh, okay. You and Kimber will have that.
That's the only
have
reason.
that in common then.
what I love most about Jason is he's like, what should I say, unscripted? I feel like he just kind of says it like it is. I think a lot of people are like, how can I best say this? And he's like, listen.
I try to keep it pretty real. And something else I do really try to do is take digital marketing, which is this kind of complicated thing, or internet leads, which we're talking about today, try to make it very kind of as simple as possible. How do we make it into this little, not intimidating thing? Because everyone hates doing lead generation. So let's figure out how to make it easier.
Whoa. Not everybody.
Unscripted. Well, I like lead generation when I don't have to cold call people. And that's what we're going to end up talking about.
Okay. All right. So, and we're talking about converting leads, right? So we're talking Facebook leads. And actually, I'll throw up your screen you have here. Whoops, that's not what we wanted.
That ain't it.
There we go. We're talking about converting internet leads, right? So a lot of conversation is had. We talk a lot about lead generation. And I remember it was probably about 8 years ago. I heard this, probably not for the first time, but it's the time that it clicked from Gary on stage, was lead generation really has a second part to it. And that's the lead conversion, the follow-up, right? And if we don't do the one, if we do one and not the other, we're really wasting money and time, and whatever it is we can waste is being wasted. So we're going to talk about that second part today. Is that correct?
Yeah, and something that Gary brought up, or not even just Gary, it's kind of been a hot topic since Family Reunion back in February, was we don't have a lead generation problem anymore. Now, some people do. Let's make that clear. Some people have lead generation problems in their business, but as a whole, the leads are being generated, but they're not being converted. Yep. Like, have you ever heard the statistic that there was 40 million or whatever the number is, internet leads through aggregators, so Zillow, Opcity, Ojo, Realtor.com, something like 40 million leads generated, but only 6 million houses sold.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that number is honest. I think the number is like 120 million. I don't remember. Yeah. It's some massive number. So the leads are out there. We're just not converting them. So we're going to talk about how to, what you just said, quit wasting your money with Facebook leads, or we're going to say Facebook, change that to just say internet leads. Yeah. It's all the same for the most part.
Well, and it's so funny because I've said this here before, and I've said it to agents I teach, which is I used to do Craigslist ads, right? That was my thing. And those were $0, right? Like Facebook, what are we seeing? Like $2 a lead, $1.50, $2.50, something like that. That's the new zero, right? I don't know if there's really a $0 lead anymore, with the exception of maybe people walking into an open house.
Or, I don't know, your sphere.
Well,
but we don't talk to our sphere anymore.
Yeah, we don't talk
tired of hearing it. They're tired of us.
So like the cheap internet lead is now minimum $1.50, right? Yeah. So, and somebody out there might argue, well, I got it for 74 cents. Okay, whatever.
My last campaign was $6. We're also in an entire $6 per lead. We're in a very high price point market. So even if we spent $6 per lead, let's say that costs us $600 to convert one person, looking at some massive GCI on the other end. So, I mean, it's still incredibly cheap when, even if we're looking for a 10 to 1, 20 to 1 return on investment, is incredibly cheap. The problem is we're not doing the follow-up. And that's
And let's
Like,
do the
that
real
seems
math, right? Because it takes to get one lead, you have to get to get one piece of business, you have to do 100 leads, right? So even
Yeah.
at $2 a lead, that's $200 per closing.
Yeah.
If you're not doing what we're talking about here today, that can quickly become $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per closing.
Going right out the door.
We're not converting at that same level that we should be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%.
You might as well pay Ojo at that point, or one of those other companies.
That's going to come up on one of these slides.
Cool. I love that. I love that. Well, let's go. Let's do it. Let's dive in.
All right, just quick few things we're going to talk about. Also, the Canva's little templates today that it suggested to me, very colorful. We're keeping this very colorful today. Expectation management, kind of talking what we were just saying, expectations around the leads anyways. Going to talk about why people get frustrated with internet leads. Then we're going to go into some things that we call scripts. We're actually going to talk exactly what to say and then automating some of that follow-up as well. I actually think I have those swapped. I very quickly put together these slides, but
that's cool. I think we call them conversations now, but
yeah, come on.
Oh yeah, sorry. Conversation.
Down.
Can't call it a script.
When I said he was unscripted.
Yeah, I am unscripted with scripts. I mean conversation pieces.
Anyway. We made it 6 minutes and 50 seconds before we went off the rails.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's a little later. I think
we're one wheel off the rails. We can go a lot more off the rails. All right, so this is what we need to understand about Facebook, or again, actually, yes, specifically Facebook leads. Right now, they're top of funnel leads, right? Like we are talking about people that were literally looking at cat videos and we interrupted them with what was hopefully a pretty house. And they said, this is interesting. I want to learn more. And a lot of people instantly then say, oh, these are bad leads. And it's really what's happening is people are saying they're thinking, oh, I got this lead. And really, and so I want to go get married to this person. But really it's no, you just saw this person from across the bar. You caught their eye. That's it. Like that's how far down the line from marriage this is right now.
Yeah.
Like so many people think that it means, oh, we're getting married. And then they're like, oh, we didn't actually convert the lead.
I don't know. I might even go so far as to say they're still getting out of the cab to go into the bar.
They haven't even come into the same bar as you, but like they're out.
They may decide to go to a different bar at this point, right? It's still uncertain whether they're even going into that bar to buy a drink.
And Kimber's in Utah, and she's like, "What's a bar? What are bars?" Wow. All right, so. About expectation. Wow. About expectations. As you said, 100 leads to one converted client. That is what I tell a lot of people. I say, just expect 100 to 1, a 1% conversion ratio of the leads to a closing. The statistics actually kind of right between. It's between 1 and 3%, but I'm a big fan of shoot for the lower end. And then if you accidentally make too much money doing this and you're like, oh my God, I only expected to have 4 closings, not 8, you can send me the checks. I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
I do take tips.
Well, it's and I say this every time somebody brings up these stats. 1 to 3%. What's the average of that?
2%.
2%.
I think. Yeah.
2% is what? Where have we seen 2% before?
Everywhere.
Well,
that's a good question.
50 to 1 is the original not met conversion for MREA. Internet leads are just today's not mets. Yeah. End of story.
I mean, if we think about this is a number I've always used, but let's say open houses. Yeah. How many times? So you're hosting an open house. We've all kind of learned when you're hosting an open house, you're not necessarily selling that house, right? Because how many people walk into that open house unrepresented, so they don't already have an agent, and they're qualified, motivated, and want to buy that house? How often do you think that happens?
8 out of 10? I don't know.
Oh, you mean the other way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I would say 20% at best.
When I was tracking on that before, it was 1%. It was the same as this. It was about 100 people would come through to the people that were actually ready, willing, qualified, and didn't have an agent. Especially right now, we're seeing a lot of people with agents.
Sorry, I was saying 80%.
I got what you mean.
Looky loose.
No, I get what you mean. But either way, it's a much smaller number. Yet people are like, "Oh, I love open houses." Not everyone, but it's kind of the same thing. That these are just it's a lead is a lead is a lead. Now, these are top of funnel, so they might take a little longer, but that 1 to 3% isn't to say the other 97% will never convert. No, that's actually kind of the sweet spot, is that when you are following up with them, you're going to start converting those. They're just going to take about 12 months.
Right.
So it's one of those things that raise your hand if you wouldn't mind having a paycheck in 12 months. You know, like, and I've had agents say, 12 to 18 months. It's like, okay, if you don't plan on being in business in 12 to 18 months, then yes, don't do this. But if you plan on being in business, then do this. It's going to fill that pipeline then. And as you brought up, right now, agents are paying Zillow, Opcity, and Ojo for their ability to follow up for those 12 plus months.
Yeah.
That's what you're paying those aggregators for. They're all internet leads. That's all it is. They're just doing the follow-up for you.
And let me bring up another point, though, with at least the knowledge that I have about a lot of those leads, is that depending on the platform, sometimes they're charging you an additional $900 to make it easy for the leads to be distributed. So now you're almost paying a convenience fee for the leads.
There's one of the platforms on, I don't remember which one it is, but it'll tell you when you go to claim the lead, it'll say, oh, this has a 3% bonus to the lead on it. And guess who's paying for that bonus?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then
it's a bigger percentage.
And it comes down to, we have two things we can spend. We can spend our time, we can spend our money. And if we want to not spend the money, the $2 lead, we do have to spend a little bit more of our time to make it happen. Or we could not spend as much of our time and pay a lot more for the lead. That is the ultimate trade-off here.
Yeah.
And I want to be clear on something. If agents truly don't want to spend the time to do that, that is very much okay for them to go with a different system like that. But you also have to be okay with writing that bigger check in the end.
Yeah. Saeed said open houses are gems. It's a long-term 401k investment. It's not holding open.
I'm just going to cover your face to put Saeed's comment up there, but yeah.
Hey. But so to Saeed's point right here, and I actually love open houses, right? That was a big pillar of my business when I was doing sales. I loved open houses. Part of the problem with open houses is they're most productive on Saturdays and Sundays. Doesn't mean you can't get business the other 5 days a week. But then when we layer in these ads on top of that, now all of a sudden, guess what? That's 2 of the 3 pillars you should have.
Yeah.
Oh, but in order to do this, you're going to need to cast a very wide net. You need a lot of leads, right? And we'll talk a little bit about that, of just cast as wide of a net as possible. Don't think, so many people with Facebook or internet leads, they want to take power of Facebook's algorithm of saying, oh, let's narrow it down. No. Just wide net. And a lot of people will say, oh, but they're just buyer leads. Okay, one, I guarantee most people do not have enough buyers. They think they do, but they don't actually. And if you do, then refer the buyers out, get 30%. I don't know. But really, the statistics that Commissions Inc. was seeing, at least last year, I don't know if it's changed this year, but it was 1 in 4 internet buyer leads had to sell a home first. So the seller leads are in here. You just have to cast a wide enough net, filter through them through follow-up, which we're going to talk about, and then find the sellers as well.
So I have such a fun idea. All right. Walk through. Tangent time. I'm sorry, off the rails, Kimber. I apologize. So how long does it take for an internet lead to convert?
On average, 12 to 18 months.
12 to 18 months. Okay. So how many sellers do we go on listing appointments that say, oh, I want you to run targeted marketing for me, right? So if you are not running the targeting market for the listing that you're going to have in 12 months today, which you don't even know, you're already behind the 8 ball, right? Or you're behind the something. I don't know what you're behind. You're behind something in this situation, right? So how impressive would it be if you could show a database, a seller that you're going on a listing appointment today, that here are the leads in your area that I got 18 months ago. Statistically, these are the most relevant ones to buy. I can actually target them using my database to show you my house, right? Which is all the new ones. Anybody who's going to start that now is already lost for you.
Yeah. And I mean, not even saying you're going to target them. I have this list of however many hundred people. I'm going to call them and talk to them about your home.
Right.
Because they told me 6 to 12 months ago that they were thinking about buying a home. Now they're ready.
Right.
You know, and I probably have a slide about this later, but we have an agent in our office following up with a bunch of what were old Facebook leads. They're from November. So we're now right about that 6-month mark. And he is learning the kind of hard way that a lot of these people that were marked bad number, that were marked I'm not interested, that were marked all these things, are now like, oh no, I already bought a house. I just bought a house. Thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so it took that time.
Yeah.
So like if you have some old leads from like 6 months ago, go call them right now. Like
well, you don't. So, and here's the fun thing is you don't even need, and you don't need the inventory to do it. Borrow your office's inventory. Send them a list from the MLS. That's. I'm not saying wait the 18 months because they might buy before that, but start putting stuff in front of them that's relevant to them in that time period, right? Even if you don't have the listing.
Yeah. This is why people are frustrated with Facebook leads or internet leads, right? Their different objections are the leads are weak. I only get bad contact info. They answered one time, but then they ghosted me. So-and-so said that Google's better, Zillow's better, blah, blah, blah. So I don't want to use Facebook leads. Yeah,
I'm gonna throw this comment up because
this
goes with there are no bad leads, only bad follow-up, and I think that's right. Because remember, if we say that it's a 1 to 100 or even 3 to 100, 97 of those are going to be bad. They're not going to go anywhere. And part of our job with that initial follow-up, it's where the 10 days of pain and were born, is to identify who's real and who's not, so we can run with the real ones and be passive with the ones we're unsure of.
It's again, jumping off rails with that one, it's kind of like people are like, oh man, they told me they're not interested. Okay, great. Now, well, actually, if someone says they're not interested, you keep going. But if someone says, oh man, it was a bad number, fantastic, move on. Great. Now, instead of 100 people, you got 99 to call. It doesn't matter. A couple objection handlers on these though. The leads are weak. No, we just don't understand what these leads are. Right? Yeah. Yes, they are weaker than some others in theory because they haven't been warmed up yet. And that's what our job's going to be. I only get bad contact info. Well, that's actually not true. With Facebook, they had to give you good contact info because what we're doing is we're putting up a little bit of information, putting up a lead form, and then saying in order to get the info you really want, you have to give us a way to contact you. Now, if you call and you get that little like doo-doo-doot on the phone number, like it's a bad phone number, I can almost guarantee you then their email is real. Yeah. Right? Because they had to give you a name, an email, and phone number. Their name might be whatever. Chris
I get that one all the time.
Like their name might be insert profanity here.
Yes.
And their phone number is 888-888-888. And you're like, I almost guarantee you that email is real. And following up with that email.
I don't know if you would take this extra step, but I don't necessarily think it's a bad idea, right? Because we can retarget market them using command, right? We can target people in our database. So I might take like 10 seconds to put their name in Facebook and see if I could also get that Facebook URL to throw in their profile to allow that targeting to be more effective, right?
I mean, search their email on Google.
Yeah. Don't spend a lot of time on it, but make that part of your follow-up. Make that one of the tasks in your follow-up plan to find that additional information so that we can retarget, so that we can do stuff like that.
Jessica Richter said in the comments, the absolute hardest thing is getting agents to follow up with these leads more than 2 or 3 times. That is going to come up really big in like 2 more slides. So Jessica, you have to hang on because you're going to want the statistics that are coming up in a minute. And to kind of just go back real quick to people saying Google is better, Zillow is better. Honestly, yes, they are more warmed up leads, and that's going to cost you money. Yeah. And then kind of, Joe, you already kind of ruined it. I had already planned for this. Guess what? Your sphere are better leads and they're free leads, but for whatever reason, you're not talking to them. So like go focus on that. And if you're not going to focus on that, or you think you already do it enough, then okay, let's look at this. But
you know what I always tell this as part of the 36 touch, right? One of the things that I think that I think more agents should do is get your new listings. You know how we can show up to 5 listings using the advertise multiple listings, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know how we have bold, we learned in bold, the Tony did it again strategy where you send away things.
Tony did it again.
Why not target your database with all the listings you've just taken so that you're top of mind with them on the fact that you're a listing agent? I always call it the halo effect, in that you're not going to get necessarily a direct lead from that, but you're going to help with that 36 touch top of mind. And instead of having to rely on it getting in their email inbox, it comes across their Facebook or Instagram feed.
Yeah. It's like one more touch, right? Like you figure a third, email, text/call, and social. Yeah. Right. Like those are the different, like you could probably divide your database up in the people that fall into those different categories.
And while they can say that ad is not relevant to them, I think it's more likely that they'll unsubscribe from an email than ever do that to you on Facebook.
And it's fine. Like, like I used to watch on my Facebook ads manager to see when you could see when people blocked the ad. It was so few, it was dumb. Yeah. All right. So what are we going to do about it? So this this is slide number 1 for Jessica Richter, is that, so we always talk about fortune is in the follow-up, big bold thing, right? Fortune's in the follow-up. You hear it all the time in sales. This is a marketing rule of thumb. This isn't even talking about real estate. This isn't Gary Keller. This is marketing in general. It takes 7 contact attempts to reach a potential prospect, right? And so that's when they're thinking about where do they place billboards on a highway. Like these massive campaigns, they're basing it off of, it's going to take at least 7 attempts to get somebody across all the different media types and sources. Conversion Monster, which I'm going to talk a bit about Conversion Monster. It's not an endorsement. It's not a run out and sign up for them. It's just simply, they are a service that is out there. I know people that use them. It's integrated into Command in the marketplace. And they have a lot of good statistics because they make a lot of phone calls. So we're going to talk about some of their stats. What they see is that it takes at least 4 phone calls to reach an internet lead. Jessica said, as a director of ops, it's a hard time getting people to make 2 or 3 phone calls.
Yep.
Well, guess what? Like they are stopping right before the success. It's, again, kind of go back to bold. And if you haven't taken bold, just live with me for a second. They show the little guy digging for the diamonds. Kimber just told, she knows, like digging for the diamonds. There's the guy that quits, and there's the other guy that's like right at the diamond.
We have that upstairs in our office somewhere. Like it's on one of our KW boards.
No pressure, no diamonds. Okay.
No pressure, no diamonds. And this goes for all lead generation sources, but people tend to quit right before they have the success, right? And so even though it's going to take 4 phone calls on average, they're seeing people only make 1.5 call attempts.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. It says here, and maybe I'm ruining your slide.
That's fine.
It takes at least 4 calls to reach an internet lead. Are you getting them as a piece of business as soon as you talk to them that first time?
Oh, probably not.
Right. So then we might have to repeat that cycle.
This is just to find out if they even want to talk to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So no, that's a good point. That's one thing I didn't predict of you asking. So this is also some statistics from Conversion Monster. And when I say 20 to 30% response rate within 5 minutes, that's of the ones that responded, right? So when they're talking about these statistics, they're talking about of the people they've talked to, 30% of them happened within the first 5 minutes of being a lead. Now, it doesn't mean they're getting a 30% pickup rate. We do kind of see like a 10 to 20% pickup rate if you're calling them right away. You don't call them right away, that number goes way down. I'm going to talk about a book later called The Conversion Code. In there, he says it's now the statistic is like 81% of people will not pick up the phone if they don't know the number, right? So that's where we're going to have to jump into calls and texts and emails. And spoiler alert, we're going to use a smart plan to kind of automate some of that for us. But then, so 30%, when they do have a contact, 30% of them had happened within the first 5 minutes of them being a lead. Up to 50% of them were within 2 call attempts, and 77% of the ones they contact are in the first 4 phone calls. So if you only call 2 times, you're missing out on 68% of your leads ever talking to you.
Yeah.
And like 68, honestly, like to me, that number like doesn't sound that bad until you consider, so 6 out of 10 of those leads. And if every lead if every closing was worth, say, $10,000, that's $60,000 going out the window.
Yeah. And we want to take a step back because I do want to remind people that's not to say that you're going to talk to 77% of the people, right? Don't get that. That's of the ones where the contacts happened, it happened within that period. You may actually you may have actually called 50 people, talked to 3, and 77% of those was within the first 4 calls. And that's of those 3 is what we're talking about.
And that also goes back to the idea of wide net. We need a ton of leads for this.
Yeah.
Right. And, it can become overwhelming. I once turned on an ad way too strong. We had too many calls coming in. Right. So it's like, there's going to be a balance in there, but it's like, as long as it's a consistent flow throughout time, it's a lot easier to manage.
Yeah,
no, that's a good clarification, because as Bolt says, clarity is power. So the way Conversion Monster does it is they do 17 touches in the first 10 days. So you talked about 10 Days of Pain from Ben Kinney, or that's usually the one people reference. 17 touch attempts in the first 10 days. People are like, oh my God, if I called someone 17 times, or if I even tried to reach out to them 17 times, they would unfriend me or they would report me or whatever. It's like, well, here's the deal. It's 17 touch attempts, right? It doesn't mean that they've seen every email. It doesn't mean maybe their phone doesn't work and they're only getting the emails, right? So it's 17 touch attempts in 10 days. They do a total of 76 touches over 12 months. They do ringless voicemails. They do all sorts of different tactics. Go ahead.
I was just say, let's be clear on something here. Our goal is to get them to respond in some way, right? Yes. And I think there are only a few responses, right? They're a handful. They can pick up and they can say, yes, I want to do business with you. They can pick up and they can say, no, I don't want to do business with you. And frankly, I think some agents don't do this because they don't ever want to hear that, right?
Yeah.
You could never hear from them at all. And I used to have this better out. That's pretty much all of them. There are a couple other ones, bad information. Like you actually don't have real information for them.
Yeah. But they can forget what they did. Like
your goal is to identify. Your goal is to identify which one they are so that you can, so now you're further down in the pipeline and you're like, okay, I have now 10 people who are real instead of 100 people who are maybe real. Now, of those 10 people who are real, which is the one who's going to work with me, right? And that's what we're moving down the funnel for.
Yeah, I want to have any contact with them because then I know if it's real or not and if they're interested or not.
Right.
And
I want to make like one point with all of this. With this slide, the slide that you had before, and I know that because Jason understands marketing so much is why he's driving this, but sometimes agents miss the boat on the fact of, yes, we're trying to get people to contact us, right? We're trying to get that live person. But this same strategy, obviously not this frequency, but the same strategy is implemented when we're talking to even our sphere, which is marketing is all about layering. So reinforcing a message on, hey, I'm going to call you, or hey, I'm going to text you. And then, oh, by the way, an email pops up. It's like that top of mind in multiple platforms is by design.
Yep.
I'm going to talk about a smart plan later. And in that, one of them actually says, it sends out a text. And in the text, it says, hey, can you go check your email? Right. It's like, we're trying to tie it all together. It's trying to be, I'm just trying to figure out how to get a hold of you. And some people will say that, like, won't someone be upset if I call, text, and email them all in the same day? And it's like, probably not, because they didn't get all 3 of them. And if they were, it's a pretty easy objection handler. I didn't know how you want to be communicated with, which way works best for you. So never email me.
I love what you just said, by the way, because how many agents do we know who try to write a dissertation in a text message, right? And that never works. No one wants to read that text message. But if all you say is, hey, I got some information for you, go look over here, you've now solved that problem. I love that you solved that problem.
Yeah, and I think when it goes looks over here, I'm like, I sent you some properties, and so then it's like, I'm not going to send you that whole dissertation.
Yeah, love that.
You're right, though. So speaking of the smart plan, if you go into the Command Smart Plans library, so you got to click the library part, and you type in my name as the author, it says KWBP because that's my office and that's life. Buyer Internet Lead 10-day initial campaign. right? So this is going to break it down into, does it say on there? Yeah, 27 steps. So it's 16 touches over 11 days. And really the last step is then assigning them into a monthly neighborhood nurture, right? So it's going to help you go longer term. Go ahead.
So what are you have touches and non-touches. So what would be a non-touch you would do for an internet lead?
Well, in here, the non-touches are just go call the person, right?
Okay.
Like it's not an automated task. It's just a notification that I need to go contact the person, right? So because it's what's the one thing you can't do for me? It can't call. So my whole goal with this is like, I want it to be, you run an ad and then all you have to do is log in, click on the dashboard or log in at the dashboard. As long as you have your tasks right up top, it tells you what to do every day. You know, and if we have enough smart plans running, you have quarterly call plans, you have a plan like this for initial leads, you have long-term follow-up plans for leads that kind of go cold. You have all these different plans running. In theory, you can just log in every day. Command tells you, here's the people you need to call this week. That's it. Like it sounds so simple and stupid, but it's really, in theory, that easy. Whoops. Moving stuff around. But take a look at that campaign. Go edit it. Like it's not, you should edit some things in it. You don't want my name on some of the stuff, which there might be in there. But take a look at it, edit it. If there's, I used to have one that did not send out the text. It only had the call reminders because I didn't want to automate with Twilio at the time, right? And it's okay. Like, so great. Go do something that's going to tell you to make the calls. Eliminate the call bias. Just follow your list. Yeah. So call bias is when you say, I'm not going to call that lead today. Nah. Get rid of that. Like, call the dang lead. They want to talk to you, it turns out.
Yeah. Well, and if you're not going to do that, right? And there are some leads that we just, for whatever reasons, decide not to do it. Set up a Twilio automation. Use Twilio for that. Use Twilio for the people you're never going to reach out to yourself. And maybe you'll surprise yourself, right? Yeah. Just by a lead coming in that the system warmed up for you.
Yeah. So the way, kind of tying this again, kind of back to command, because that's what we do. We tend to do as labs advisors. So you're going to prep first, which is make sure the smart plan's set up and make sure your command app notifications are enabled, right? Because that's where you're going to get told there's a lead to go talk to, or this lead responded to you in Twilio, which happens, believe it or not. There's people that think, oh, well, it sends out on that initial text. It gives an option to unsubscribe. They don't hit that all that often. It does happen. And guess what? If they unsubscribe, great. Now I know. Like Jessica said in the chat. Like, then I know. Move on. Next one.
Yep.
And then you're going to enable it. And when I say it, I mean the plan. You're going to enable the plan by running the Facebook ad in command and then have the smart plan auto applied. So we're going to make this as simple as possible, but then you have to call the leads. Now, for a while, I was running ads and never calling them within 5 minutes because inevitably you're busy, you're going to the bathroom. That's when the lead comes in, and that kind of sucks. It's just what
I feel like that's such a super, like that is an experiential thing right there, because that's such an odd example.
Yeah. I mean, it happens though. That's why you need enough leads. If you have so few leads, they only come in when you pee. That's my new unfiltered or unscripted part.
Hey, Jason, reasons or results?
I don't want any of them. And then call the leads and then follow the smart plan, because then like I said, all you'll have to do is actually check your dashboard once a day or whatever it takes. The biggest thing though is quit overthinking this. Like, this is where you see the people say, oh no, I need to like hyper target these ads. I need to do this. I need to do this. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Not if you aren't. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, so let's say they download your smart plan, right? And I just want to be clear on this because all smart plans are different. Did they have to make any tweaks to that smart plan for their area? Like, is there anything or like contact information?
So I tried to keep it very, very generic, but go take a look at it, because I don't 100% remember. But I tried to keep it as generic. Like, I used to have one, hey, this is Jason in Fremont. Like, no, I tried to make it's at Keller Williams, just because, especially in California, we kind of need to be disclosing what we're doing. Stuff like that. But definitely take a look at it, because I'm not 100% sure. Okay. I haven't looked at it. And then
my next question, if they respond, do you let the smart plan run out, or do you stop it?
I'll stop it. I'll stop it and either reassign them to someone else. I haven't had many people mad at me lately, except for this one lady. Now it's kind of her fault because she keeps reapplying, like she keeps
Gotta love
re-signing
that.
up on stuff.
Yeah.
But she one time she's like, I'm not interested, and I forgot to turn off the smart plan, and then it sent her another one. Hey, are you interested? She's like, I just said no. Are you dumb? I was like, yeah, kind of. Sorry. Like, are you dumb?
Yeah.
You keep signing
Yeah.
up on my thing. But this is a funny one because I've had many people mad at me. This is funny, or this is you hear agents all the time. I don't want to cold call. I
Right.
don't want to follow up because I don't want to cold call. Guess what? This isn't cold calling. They literally put their phone number on the internet, and I'm sorry if I'm going to call you because you put your phone number on the internet.
Yeah.
Right. And again, I've had people mad at me sometimes, and the guy's like, why did you call me? And I was like, you filled out, you wanted information on this property. He's like, no, I didn't. It's like, oh, okay. Is this not Joe? He goes, no, it's Joe. I was like, oh, okay, then you must have filled out this thing. He's like, what's it about? I was like, this property on 123 Main Street. He goes, well, how much is it? I was like, okay, so clearly you wanted this information. You just wanted to be a grumpy Gil.
I closed a piece of business a while back where a guy's girlfriend put all his information in there. And and he's like, well, I never signed up. You just started emailing me out of the blue. And I was like, okay.
And, maybe actually come think of it, a couple slides ago, maybe we should have talked about TCPA for a minute, because people get confused on this is because they say, well, how do I compare them to the do not call and stuff like that? They actually consented through Facebook's privacy policy. They consented to you giving them a call.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. These are not calling these leads is not a TCPA violation unless they tell you don't call them.
Yeah. They can always opt out again.
If they say, do not call me again, fantastic. Have a great day.
Well, and the fun thing is if they sign up on Facebook again, they've now resaid call me. So it's this. Yeah.
That's why I don't actually delete anyone out of my CRM. I'll mark it do not contact. I'll even take their phone number out of it and drop it in the notes to make sure I don't accidentally call them.
Right.
But I actually want to know because, like I said, I have leads that come back later. Another big point that people, some of the not scripts, conversation pieces or guides, whatever we want to call it, that people go down. It's like when you're talking to these people, they already got the information because the way the ad was set up was I said, click here to get the information. They fill out a form. They got the information. Right. And that's what we're going to talk about on some of these conversation guides in a second, is that they already have the information. So don't try to hide it. Just call them and talk to them. Right. And then you mentioned the goal being, I want to identify, are they a real person? At some point, your goal needs to be setting an appointment.
Right? Oh, of course. Yes.
Right. No, you were also right. But too many people are like, kind of look at this kind of like when they see an open house visitor come through the house and they say, oh, they were just a nosy neighbor. What do we know that means? Seller lead, potentially, or at least someone I want to know in the neighborhood.
Well, it's kind of like when we had to shift our conversation with Bold, right? And why? Because so many agents were so stuck on making contacts that they forgot to set the appointment.
Yeah.
Right. And so we have to remember that there's a objective to the contact. So first objective is, are they real? Yeah. And do we want to set the appointment? I guess I was coming from the standpoint, which is realistically, we set the appointment with the people we know who are real, and we kind of have to just kind of either forget about or passively touch those people who we don't know if they're real or not. Because those people, if we waste our time on that, we're not properly top grading.
And it's, it is a tricky thing where, again, this is not even at the first date level, and you're asking the person out to go on an appointment. Right. At the same time, those 1 to 3% leads. What's that? It was mixed metaphor.
You're like, it's not date level, and we're asking that date out on an appointment.
Well, I mean, you're not on the date yet, right? You want to go on the date, and but you haven't met them, right? So it's this tricky thing. But at the same time, there are people, the 1 to 3% in there, they actually need this information because they want to make a decision on buying a house for whatever reason right now, and so we need to go get in front of them and help them and consult them because, again, leads are people. It turns out, weird, but I'm a high D. I only think in numbers. All right. So again, these are not cold leads. They reached out to you for information. You're just following up with their request, right? They've already gotten the answer they want, like a price, location, or more info. Because again, on my ads, I'm not adding a price, usually not an address, limited information. And then this is literally what I said on the last slide. I think I messed that up. Anyways, next slide. Okay. So this is exactly what I say when I call them. Right. So this is literally the conversation to have is this is Jason at Keller Williams. I'm calling because you checked out one of our properties on Facebook, 123 Main Street. It's super simple, right? I was just following up to see what questions you have about the home, right? It doesn't get much simpler than that. You can memorize it really quickly. You could have it on a little flashcard. It's super simple. And almost always, these are the responses you're going to get. Now, there's this thing, again, from the book, The Conversion Code. He talks about an ARP, acknowledge, respond, and pivot, right? So if they say, oh, I just wanted to know the price. Oh, it's $500,000. Okay, thanks. Bye. Oops. Like you hit the wall, when really what you want to do is get around that wall just by throwing another question in at the bottom. And these responses are almost always the same. So you can memorize 4 or 5 of these little ARP models to get around it. So I say, oh, I just wanted to know the price. Oh, got it. You just needed the price. As I'm sure you saw, the home was listed for $500,000. And then the pivot around their little barrier is, was that higher or lower than you were hoping for? What does that actually tell me? If they answer higher or lower, what does that actually tell me? Everything, right? It tells me they were so I know they were looking at a home. They only wanted to know the price and it was higher than they were expecting or hoping for. Great. Then what were you hoping for? 350? Okay, great. Why 350? Obviously, then you go down that. I just want to know the address. Got it. You were just looking for the address. The home's at 123 Main Street. Again, they already had the information. Is that the neighborhood you were hoping it to be in? No, not at all. Oh, then what neighborhood? Right? Like it's making them answer one of these questions tells you so much about what they're actually trying to do. The other ones are, I was just looking. Great. You're just taking a look. I look at homes all the time on the internet too. Were you looking for yourself or someone else? Boom. Busted right through their thing. I was just looking at the photos. Fantastic. Like that's what HGTV was built for. Was looking at photos. Whoops. It says, is that the neighborhood you were hoping it to be in? That's not what that's supposed to say. It's supposed to say along the lines of, I have another way for you to look at photos without giving away all your information to strangers on the internet. Would you like me to set you up on a search? It's pretty simple stuff, but people get so hung up on it, but it's really easy. These are the 2 books you need though. They're ironically, I didn't even realize this when I put this together. The Conversion Code was one of my favorite books when I got started in real estate. That's the new edition that just came out a week ago. And then it's all about internet lead conversion, basically. On the right, there's a book called Exactly What to Say. So there's a couple different editions of the book. There's Exactly What to Say. And then there's Exactly What to Say for Real Estate Agents, which is that black one. Chris Smith is a co-author on both of them. So that Exactly What to Say book is fantastic. It literally just tells you what to say when you're talking to people. It doesn't get much simpler than that. I recommend those. If you go to that little link, Jason Flynn Reads, I just realized I do not have those books on that list yet. I'll put them on right after this.
That is really funny. I love that. Also, they can't click on the screen, so we got to put that. If we can put that in chat, that would be great.
If not, type it in yourself. It's not that important.
Take a screenshot of these books. It's good.
It's not that important. Just go buy the book. So all this just goes to say success is simple. It's not easy. You build a big funnel of leads. Auto apply smart plans because you're going to need help, especially when you have too many leads. I think it was Arthur might have said it earlier, that he got too many leads one time, right? Like you might get too many leads. So that's why we want smart plans in case you're not able to follow up. Call the leads within 5 minutes and call at least 7 times. That average from Conversion Monster was 4 times. Shoot for 7, or just follow the dang smart plan.
Is that it? Are we done?
Boop, boop, boop.
And sharing is caring.
I don't think that the end was big enough. You are never invited back.
Wait, Joe, where's the the explosion video?
The explosion video. Hold on. While I'm doing that, can you actually physically go and put that link? Only goes to YouTube when you put it in this chat.
Oh,
So
I'll type it in. I'll type it in.
I can't do anything.
let me.
else.
I'm gonna go look for the. I'm gonna go with the explosion.
I don't know how to do things.
Yes.
Although I prefer.
It is
Oh,
Chad's
man.
birthday today, so if you
Aw.
have to show land, we're contractually obligated.
We are contractually obligated.
Happy
to show
birthday,
land.
Chad. Yeah, that's all I gotta say about that.
So I love that. So what I should have asked this before, but if anybody here has any questions for Jason, anything for myself or Kimber, although Kimber spoke on this similar topic a couple weeks ago, and I have asked some annoying questions along the way. We are more than happy to answer any of those questions. Chris Orsini does say happy birthday, Chad. Yes, happy birthday, Chad. And then we do appreciate everybody who watched this today. I know that a Wednesday is a weird time for some of you, especially those of you who are used to us being on Friday. Saeed. But thank you for being here. And
I like Saeed because he's like my personal fan club. I really like it.
You know, this is what I know about Saeed. He makes everybody feel like they are the most important person in the world, and I love that about him.
He's the only person that I've ever had that we're on a Zoom and I get a text from him saying, I need you to smile because I'm going to take a selfie and you're in the screen being frumpy.
Hey, you know what? That is so nice to get that awareness because
Yes.
I'm just looking mad.
Yeah, most days I'm just like, I don't have energy 24/7. I'm actually an introvert. Fun fact.
It's so surprising to me.
It's because I'm on when I'm around people, but then I die when I get home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Well, thank you everybody for coming. We're at the point where now I guess nobody's asking any questions, so we're just gonna ramble on for a little bit.
Yeah, Chris is just gonna keep making comments that.
Ban people from this, huh?
Yeah. Nope. We've tried. I'm kidding. I just want to reiterate like exactly what you said. If you guys, were here a few weeks ago when I was talking about it, I mean, those similar, very, very similar stats that we went over from a top producing team that we have here. And it's the exact same thing. It's like 80% of conversion happens after 5 calls. You need to be calling them 3 times on the first day. Just all these little points. And so any of the spend that we've currently been doing with leads, think of just the return on investment on a few extra calls, an intentional follow-up. What does that look like?
And I would add, if you're someone that generated a bunch of leads and didn't do that follow-up, you're like, man, I've wasted a bunch of money over the last year or 2 years. Go call them. Like I've literally just been assigning old leads.
It sounds like you have about 18 months to correct that error, right? So
that's on average, which means that there's others that are going to go beyond that.
Yeah.
All is not lost.
No, in fact, there's actually kind of more gold in there. That's going to be my new strategy. Generate a bunch of leads right now. Never contact them. And then in 12 months, open the treasure chest like a time capsule of Facebook leads. Like, oh my God.
So for those of you out there on Teams, if you go back to your Rainmaker with, I'm just going to wait 18 months to call these leads. Jason Flynn, what is your number where they could reach you at?
My name is Joe McHugh.
Yes, no, we're not.
Yeah,
we're not
they may not love that. I don't know. I think you need to go call.
No, but those, and to the point I made earlier, those older leads we have things we can do with it, right? We can use them to retarget our current listings because they're right in that prime, right? And so if we know that, we can say, okay, who when was created more than this amount of period ago? Let me target those, or target all of them. Who cares? And actually targeting using our Facebook tool becomes more effective the more contacts we have to target. So building a big database, even if it's 100 leads, you only are going to convert 3. we can actually be more effective with our targeting by having all of them to be able to kind of refocus on, and then maybe they're ready. Maybe they weren't ready 18 months ago. They weren't ready 2 years ago, but we're still retargeting. They're ready now, right?
And I'll have people say, oh, well, it's 1 in 100, right? So if I run an ad and I only get 20 leads this weekend, that's not enough for a conversion, or let's call it 25. That's not enough to convert anything. It's like, okay, but then do it every week.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're at 1 a month. There's 12 months in a year. So I'm pretty sure anyone here could use 12 more deals this year. And then, to your point, then just keep retargeting it, and it's only going to get better from there.
I'm going to geek out for a little bit, because if you know anything about statistics, right? Statistics actually don't work well with small numbers. So like that 1 in 100 doesn't work at 100, right? You might actually have to get to 1,000 for that 1 in 100 to work. So you really have to get large things. That's why even the 50 to 1 of the MREA, if you have a database of 50 or you're targeting a neighborhood of 50, you're not necessarily going to get one piece of business from that, right? Whatever it is, we need larger numbers to get those averages. Otherwise, you're going to see inconsistencies.
Will someone, to go way off the rails, go tell Elon Musk and Twitter that, who are sitting there doing 100-person samples on a 60 million user platform?
You're more likely to have his number than I am, so you can reach out to him.
I'll go call up. I'll go drive by. Hey, Joe knows statistics.
They used to call it 7 degrees
great,
of Kevin Bacon. It's now the 7 degrees of Elon Musk.
Yeah. There's a really great book if you want to kind of get an idea of that. It's called Thinking Fast and Slow. It's a really fantastic book that kind of talks about we all have two parts of our brain. One that makes intuitive, quick judgments, and one that thinks about it. And they're actually more dependent on each other than you would imagine. And one of the things that we as humans don't do well is understand statistics and know how to relate to statistics. And he talked about, like, I'm geeking out now. I apologize. Anyway, bottom line, averages don't work with smaller numbers, or rather finding those things that you need larger numbers to make those statistical relevancies actually come true.
And I will say too, though, that specifically in this realm of the 1 out of 100, I get it's a small number, small sample size. I mean, we're almost nailing it every time, right? Like it comes true often. But it's a good point that it doesn't mean I can just go drop $500 on a Facebook ad this weekend and get the lead. But that's why I like the consistency game. I'm also really bad at it. Like I'm really bad at taking my own advice, but I got lots of opinions if you want one.
How many times have you heard these exact words from Gary? Time on task over time, right?
Time on task over time. I want that. Why don't we have that one as a shirt from him?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Gary.
We do not, Kimber and I do not represent the opinions of Jason Flynn.
I'm asking for something.
We also don't make shirts.
No, we love the shirt. It was the come on Gary comment that I am not on board with.
I'll call him. I'm going to call him and see if, hey, I want this shirt, please.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure he has people who set that up for him, but yeah.
Off the rails.
Yeah, it's always awesome to have Jason Flynn on.
I
got a haircut just for this, by the way.
He got a haircut for us. He's got a decent
Kimber. Who do we have next week?
So you guys may be familiar with him. His name is Donnie Brookman.
Ooh, I didn't know next week was Donnie.
Yes, so he is at KWRI.
Yep.
He is in the labs team. I forget the official title of Donnie, labs manager maybe. But he's heavily involved in our technology world, and obviously at KW. And he's a subject TBD, but
Donnie has some of the most infectious energy of anybody I have ever talked to.
Awesome.
And we are going to appreciate that next week. After Jason's dull presentation today,
so dull.
It's going to be a nice change.
Yeah.
According to LinkedIn, he is a senior labs manager.
There you go. Garrett Stewart is that Facebook user. Gary Stewart, you're a friend of the show. You should know how this works by now.
Oh my God, Garrett. So,
Friend of the show.
Once you've been on this show twice, you're a friend of the show.
yeah.
I think this is 3. I think I'm number 3 now.
Okay, well, you don't get a better title. It's
And
just
I know
show,
you have,
not.
you have another topic that you were thinking about doing today, so we're gonna have you back on to do that other topic.
Already forgot what it was, so just let me know and I'll wing it then. Let's see. This one was what was it? Let's tease it so I can get slides ready.
I don't remember. Now
Hold
you're
on. We have
putting me on
1.5 minutes. We can do it. Let me look.
Well, I'll do whatever.
Anyway, thank you. We actually have more people watching now than when you were doing your content. So apparently we're more interesting when we're off the rails.
Wait, Saeed's coming to San Francisco?
Hey.
Saeed, text me.
Topic. I don't know.
It's okay. I'll figure it out by then. You just tell me and I'll be there.
You're just talking about open houses? That was your last one.
No.
All right. And on that note,
Hey.
We don't know.
Need
All
more
right.
sound effects.
thank you everybody for coming, and see you next week.